All right, welcome everybody. Good, happy Wednesday evening. Today is the 7th of May, 2025. I want to welcome all of you to the Great American Little Town podcast. I am your host, Sean Farmer. I have a special co-host tonight. Mr. Dan Denier is not here tonight. We'll explain why, but my special co-host tonight is Mr. Barry Carruth, all the way from Ireland. We flew him in just special to co-host the show because we have those kinds of connections, believe it or not.
So thank you for having me on, Sean.
You're welcome. We're going to talk about some fun stuff tonight, and it's going to be a great show. But thank you, Barry, for taking the time to be here tonight. Sincerely. And again, it's Wednesday evening. Beautiful weather out, 80-some degrees. Actually, a little warm for me. I'm not quite ready for that winter. The weather is this warm for you?
This is for us, yeah. Although back at home this week, the weather has been absolutely phenomenal.
Like what's phenomenal?
25 degrees.
25 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, we gotta talk Fahrenheit. We're in America here. You know? So what is that, like 60 degrees?
Something like that, 65, something like that.
Yeah.
But
that's nice.
It's quite warm for us.
That's warm?
That is warm.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about where Barry's from in Ireland because, Ireland's an island, so it can vary, but he's in a unique piece of it. So we'll talk about that. First, I'm going to do a little housekeeping here to appease our legal team. So the Great American Little Town podcast is an independently operated, not-for-profit broadcast, and any statements or views expressed by myself or our guests should be considered independent from the City of Galt, unless otherwise noted. This podcast is neither sponsored or approved by the City of Galt as an official news source. The views and discussions of this podcast are solely that of the host and intended for entertainment only. So, which that means is it's as credible as you want it to be. I mean, we try to make news credible, but you take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, it's the internet, so who knows? If it's on the internet, it's believable, right? So again, Dan's not here tonight. So Dan got called into work. Yeah, very sad. Yeah, poor Dan. Dan's at work. Hi, Dan. Hopefully you're watching at work. So Dan, for those of you who didn't know, Dan's a corrections officer. So he is actually told me before we came on the show, he is 22 days from retirement. It's going to be the longest 22 days of his life, I assure you. And he's watching on the chat. He just said boo. Anyway, so we have to fill in, and we have, Dan has big shoes to fill. So you can't just have any co-host. We had to have somebody special. So we made some phone calls, pulled some strings, and we decided that we're going to fly Barry in from Ireland. He's really not here just for the show, just if you really believe that. But he's actually here visiting some family. He's visiting his son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren. And you guys come out a couple times a year, right?
Yeah, we come out for the birthdays of the two grandsons. So
yeah,
really special times.
Oh, I bet.
Well, we've got technology in Ireland, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's not just clovers and leprechauns. They have the internet there.
Oh, we do, yes. And we can get what they call FaceTiming, which is a fantastic relief for both of us to be able to see the grand.
Right. It's the future. Like, I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to throw you under the bus here. I'm a little younger than you, right? So I remember, like, as a kid thinking that you could look and talk to somebody like through a screen of some sort. That was like science fiction, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now it's like no big deal.
Oh, well, it's a big deal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But it is you know what, though? If you think about it, it is a great tool to be able to do those kinds of things for people like yourself who live halfway across the world to keep in touch with family. Because before that, you could call them on the phone. But let's be honest. I mean, a phone call overseas can be very expensive.
Absolutely. I can remember, in actual fact, my uncle who came to California in 1955.
Wow.
And he rang up his mum, and of course she shouted like mad, "Here's Ivan's on the phone for me here." And all the neighbors were in hanging around the telephone to listen to him on the telephone.
They're like listening in. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's got to be great. Well, because my dad lived in Oklahoma for many years after he retired. And so he would call me and we would talk for a long time, and he would come out a couple times a year and visit the my daughters and stuff. But it wasn't cheap. Then this was before he had a cell phone. Once the cell phones came out, and then but even then it was expensive because your minutes were expensive, right?
Sure.
But then eventually, you had unlimited calling and all that. But yeah, it was a big deal. So, so before we go on and talk more stuff with Barry, because we're gonna talk about some fun stuff. I'm gonna just talk about some stuff going on here in town, like you usually do. We're calling it About Town. It's our new little subject, About Town. So, first of all, I want to mention a big fundraiser that's coming up on Saturday, June the 4th. Jumping in on this, and basically this fundraiser to try to compensate the Liberty Ranch boosters that was had their money stolen or embezzled, more or less, by their treasurer. So, for those of you who don't know what happened, it was, 6 figures of money was stolen by their treasurer, and there's a lawsuit involved. But right now, it's really impacted a lot of the sports teams all across the, everything from cheerleaders all the way through, all the various sports. This is money that they had fundraised over the course of a year, several years, that would paid for equipment, it paid for entries into tournaments, it paid for travel, anything and everything you can think about for sports, which if any of you have kids in sports, is super expensive nowadays. And this was their money. And so this fundraiser is on Saturday, June the 14th. It will be a spaghetti dinner. Tickets can be purchased online. It's being shared all over the internet. I have it shared on my personal Facebook page. You can go check it out. There's a QR code. You can buy tickets online. I'm not sure if you can buy them at the door, but I'm sure you will be able to. I doubt that they would turn people away. $20 for adults, $10 for kids. Kids 5 and under are free. So it's really a family get together. All the money will be going back to boosters. There's going to be a silent auction. There's going to be a raffle. I will be there helping. I don't know if I'm going to be emceeing or helping with the auction, but I'll be doing something in some capacity to help out. But it's going to be a big to-do. Hopefully everybody, if you can please make it, please try to go Saturday, June the 14th, and try to help out. And we got to show, that all can come together and really, try to help right this wrong that has happened. So, in other news, those of you that caught the last Saturday market last weekend, Saturday market was really well attended. The weather was really nice, and then we had the Makers Market. The Makers Market is. Were you able to guys to go to that or no? Did you miss it?
Unfortunately, we weren't.
Okay.
We were out of time.
So the Makers Market. This is the second time they've done it. It's headed up by Becky Ronsby. She's a local realtor and a business owner, and her daughter Michaela, and some other people. They got a lot of sponsors. A lot of people are involved. But it's like an entrepreneur fair for children. So children, to even be accepted, they have to send in a video and to say what their product is. And it's like a little video clip. I don't know how long it is, but they look at all these videos and they take the ones they think will be good. And there was I want to say it was 90 kids, maybe 100 this time. Yeah, I was a judge last year. This year I couldn't judge because I was very busy with work. But so these judges would go around and these kids have a product,
right? And
it's like a miniature business, and it could be, a service that they're doing, or it could be something that they're making, or something that they're, food they're baking, or, there's all kinds of different things. And so the judges, as a judge, we would judge the kids and we would judge different age groups. So there's different age groups. So they're started as young as 5 years old and they go up to I think 16 is the oldest. So there's different age groups. So you don't have 16-year-olds competing with 5-year-olds. That wouldn't be fair, obviously. Yeah. So we would judge them on things like the whatever product is they have. Is this a viable product? Is this something that could really make it in the real world? Sure. Creativity, is this a really unique idea? We would judge them on that. We would judge them on things like how well they know the product. So I'd ask them questions like, how much does it cost you to make that product? Or how much does it cost? What do you pay for that product? What's the profit margin? And so they need to know all the ins and outs of that stuff.
That's incredible.
It's really cool. And some of these kids were sharp. This one kid, she was 5 and she knew how to make change with money. She was a salesman. She knew the product. Her sales pitch was really good. And I mean, it is phenomenal. And so these sponsors, local businesses, they come together and they offer money. So they give away in each age category, they would do $50 winners. I think they did 1 or 2 $50 winners. And then the top person in each age group got $350. So that's a lot of money to a young kid.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. And it was so well attended. And they're going to do it again in November. So in November, they're going to do the Makers Market again. So if you have a young child or a kid, teenager that wants to get in on this and show off their product or some little business idea that they have, check into it. The Makers Market. I think you can contact Becky Ronsby, or you can find online. You can email us at GaryMcAlindleFound@gmail.com, and I can give you some information. But it'll be in November, so there's a deadline. So, yeah, check into that. A couple other things is that we are going to have the IDC, which is the 4th of July parade, is a ways away, but the city is doing a float for veterans. They're calling it the Heroes Float. And part of this float that they're building, they're going to do pictures of veterans. So if you have a picture of someone, a loved one who's serving in the military, or a past who has served in the past, they don't even have to be, they could be a veteran, they could be a current active duty, whatever. You can send a photograph to Parks and Recreation, and they will actually it's going to be a collage of photographs. So it'll say Heroes, but all the letters will be formed out of photographs on this float. And they're going to have veterans on the float. So there is a deadline for it. I'm sure it's got a ways to wait, but you contact Galt Parks and Recreation if you're interested in sending a picture in of loved ones. You can walk it in there and they'll scan it for you and then give it right back to you, or you can digitally email it to them or whatever, but contact Galt Parks and Rec if you're interested in doing that. And then last, I want to talk about the update about the skate park and the water slide, which have been talked about recently online. So the issue with the skate park is the skate park conceptual drawings have been approved by the city council. We are now having some environmental tests done that's typical for something like this. And then they're going to be coming back for a construction bid in, I think, a month or so. So we'll be approving the construction bids in a couple months, or going out for construction bid, I'm sorry. And then construction will begin early next year. Hopefully the skate park will be up and operational by summertime of 2026. The water slide is slightly ahead of that. They've demoed the old slide. We've already approved construction. All that's approved. So although it missed this swim season, it will be open for next swim season for sure on the water slide as well. So anyways, that's a couple of recaps I wanted to update. And
so
also,
the next time I come over, I bring my swimming trunks with me.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Swim trunk. Yeah. It's swimming. So, I mean, you mentioned that it's quite cold where you live. So why don't you tell us? So let me reintroduce my guest, because we're going to move on to our main topic here. So this is Barry Carruth from Ireland. He's here with his wife, Allison.
Yes.
Right. And they come over twice a year to visit the grandkids. And your grandkids, it's Adam and James.
That's right.
Yeah. So James, so Adam, it always cracks me up. Adam has his little, what's his little thing he carries around? His little
bear.
His little bear.
Oh no, it's a bunny rabbit. Sorry,
it's a bunny rabbit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, and it has a name though. What does he call it?
Minnie.
Yeah. So it's like like a little kid has a blanket. He has this little rabbit, and I remember my daughter Christian. She had a little stuffed person thing that she always would took everywhere. And then my daughter Kaylin, who's actually sitting off screen right now, she had a blanket that was her thing. She left her blanket. Or wait, was that Megan or was that you, Kaylin, that left their blanket in Oklahoma? It was you. Yeah, she left her blanket at my dad's house in Oklahoma, so he had to ship it back here in a box, because it's like, it's a big deal, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, I think your daughter-in-law told me that she had they have actually kind of a stunt, like an extra rabbit in case that one gets lost.
It doesn't work.
No, they know.
Yeah, they know it. They know it's not the right one.
They know it's not the right. Yeah.
We were up visiting some relations of my daughter-in-law. I can't remember where the city was, but we were in the car on the way home, and all of a sudden, Adam turned around and said, "Minnie's not here."
Oh no! Oh no!
And this, so we had to turn and drive all the way back. Well, we were halfway away, so all the way back.
Oh, yeah. For sure you had to go back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And each one of us, and the adults, took a different route as to where we had been, and I nearly got 10 points for I caught him.
You found it?
I found it.
Did you found it? Oh, wow. You're like the hero right there.
Absolutely, nearly.
Yeah. So James, the younger of the two, he is the cutest kid. I swear. He has the brightest red, like Is red hair like a big deal in Ireland?
Oh yes,
It is,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's totally got your gene. I mean, his hair is bright red, and but his eyes, he's got these eyes that just like when he looks at you, I mean, they're like no other eyes I've seen. He's just got the cutest eyes. I mean,
He'll know if you're telling him a whopper or not. If you look at him, you tell he just looks at you and says, "You must be kidding me."
yeah. Well, they didn't talk. They used to come in here, and I would see
Yeah.
them occasionally. They didn't really talk much. They were pretty quiet.
Yeah.
They talk now.
Well, I talk plenty now.
Yeah. So James. So how old is James now?
James is going to be a 5
And Adam is
in August, and Adam is 7
7.
2 days ago.
2
3
days
days
ago.
ago.
So it was just Adam's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so your son's Ryan, right?
Yeah.
So your son Ryan, he was born in Ireland,
He was, yes.
right? And the reason I would know that is because he has an accent as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I asked this question. So I have another good friend, my friend Dudley. He was born in London, and he's one of our customers. Comes to the coffee shop every day, and he's 85. And he came to the United States when he was around 20.
Yeah.
And so I always ask people that have an accent, that have moved to the United States and then have lived here since. At what age do you keep the accent or do you lose the accent? And I've been told it's around 18 or so. Does that sound about right, you think?
I'm not sure. I know that my uncle came out here, as I said, in 1955.
Okay.
But I think he cultivated his accent
Okay.
to fit in, if you like.
Okay.
But I think that idea has long gone, where people
Okay.
they're quite proud of where they came from, obviously, originally.
Yeah.
And with the accent that they have, but it does creep in. I mean, we notice sort of differences in Adam's or in Ryan's speaking, but whenever he goes back home again, it seems to lose the American.
Right.
It goes back to the
Right.
Irish.
No, I mean, it's a real thing. Like I used to spend a lot of summers, and I used to spend my summers when school was out in the summer. I would go back to Oklahoma with my
Yeah.
dad, and we'd visit some of our kinfolk, as we call them out there. And I'd spend summers as a kid,
Yeah.
when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, those summers. And when you're back there for like 2 months, and
Yep.
in Oklahoma they have that southern twang, right? You start picking that up. And when I would come back out here, I would be like, I'd have that little tiny twang in
Yeah.
my voice, and be saying y'all, and y'all, how's y'all, how's y'all. Yeah,
Okay.
let me tell you about the word y'all. This is funny. So y'all has 4 forms. There's singular, plural. Wait, is it 3 forms or 4? Anyways, there's singular, plural, and plural possessive.
Right.
So y'all means like a group of people, like y'all.
Sure.
Like, hey, are y'all gonna go to
Yeah.
the dinner tonight? And then there's all y'all, which is like all y'all. Hey, and then there's the possessive, which is all y'alls.
All
So
right.
like with an apostrophe.
Okay.
It's like, oh yeah, it's very complicated, but anyway, it's a little Southern education for those of you who don't know. But anyways, I think you pick up the language, right? You pick
Yeah.
up the whatever. So
You do. Yeah.
so Dudley, he came here when he was 20. He still has the English accent. I mean, you can clearly understand him, but he has that Southern, and so he has spent now 65 years in the United States,
Yeah.
and only 20 of it in England.
Yep.
But yet he kept the accent that whole time.
Well, England's a different part of the world than Ireland, of course.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. We're gonna throw some. Yeah, that was funny. When you guys first came in, and I told Dudley, I go, hey Dudley, this is Barry Nelson. They're from Ireland, and he's like, oh. There's like beef there, right? There's like, but I mean, is it? Let's talk about that. So, is there like a real kind of grudge thing between England and Ireland, or is that something from way back that doesn't really exist too much, or is it still like a real thing?
No, it's not a real thing any
No,
longer.
not anymore.
It's,
But it was at one point, right?
I'm sure it was. Hopefully, even before I was born. But generally speaking, the Irish and the English mix very well together. They travel across the little piece of water between the two
Yeah.
countries.
Which is called what?
That's the English Channel.
Oh, that's
no,
the
sorry, it's the Irish Sea.
Irish Sea, yeah,
Yeah.
because the English Channel is between France.
That's right. Yeah. So
yeah.
and-
That's all right. We'll forgive you for that one.
Okay, I was
That's
like-
all right.
They've always said that the parts of England were built by the Paddies. Okay. Paddy's was the slang name for people who came from
Right.
Ireland. You
Yeah.
know. They
Yeah.
built their roads, they built their motorways, and they dug their tunnels.
Well, it's funny you say that, but think about all the Irish that came over to the United States who immigrated here at the turn of the century,
Yeah.
right? And how many Irish have built cities, roads, railroads? I mean, people,
course.
I mean, and there was like a whole. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was a whole slave trade with Irish, like in the early days. People always think of slaves as the African American slave, right? But
Yeah.
there was a whole thing with Irish too.
Well, I think I'm not certain that they were sort of classified as slaves.
It wasn't the same as that.
you
I'm
know,
not trying to compare
but
apples
there
and
was
apples.
there was a great exodus of people from Ireland who went to Australia, who went to America, and other parts of the world.
And was that because they were just looking for a better life, but it had a lot to do with there was like a huge like potato famine and a bunch of stuff that happened in Ireland at a certain time where everybody they had to leave, right?
1842 started
Right.
the potato famine, but yes, they did have to exit Ireland to try it. But then it was all over England and most of Europe as well.
Right.
But they did find that there was this great exodus towards America at that particular time.
Yeah. Wow. So so you mentioned we were talking about the not existing grudge between England and Ireland. So, but what about Scotland? Is there like some beef between Scotland and Ireland?
Oh, no. We go hand in hand with
Really?
the Scots people.
You
yes.
sound sarcastic. That's
Oh, no,
sarcasm.
no,
You're
it's not.
serious?
Oh, absolutely serious. Scottish people are very in tune, really, with the Irish type
Really?
of culture within themselves.
Well, you know what? That makes sense because and I'm not claiming to be like some history expert, and of course you can't always go by things in movies. But like, for example, like in the movie Braveheart, and I've
Yep.
seen documentaries that talks about what was fake in that movie. But in the movie Braveheart, there was some truth to the fact that the Irish came and helped the Scots,
Yeah, that's
right? During
yeah.
during
Well,
their
you-
fight for
yeah,
independence,
well,
right?
I mean, my ancestors came from Scotland, from a place called Dumbarton, which is a suburb of Glasgow.
Okay.
My wife's family would have been exactly the same, and
Really?
this would have been, well, probably sort of late 1700s, early 1800s, and they would have gone back and forward. There was a great industry, the mills, for example, the linen mills, and there was girls from 17, 18 years of age went from Northern Ireland and across to Scotland. Would have got off from with Port Patrick is where they sort of arrived at, and then further up the coast there would have been a number of mills up towards Ayr and right up into Glasgow, and they would have filled their ambitions to get away from Ireland.
Proper way to put it. Fill their ambitions.
That's
That's not how we say it here in America, but that's the polite, proper way. That's the
Exactly.
politically correct way. They filled their ambitions.
Certainly,
So, well, it's funny, but I think that's probably what you and I have in common is. So, I've done all the ancestry, DNA, all that
Sure,
kinds of
yeah.
stuff, right? And I'm like 65% Scottish,
yeah. Well,
and most of my
you
DNA
don't
is
really look Scottish, by the way.
well, the name Farmer is actually very English, right?
Yes.
But I'm actually 65% Scottish, and it was like Wales. It was pretty much
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
It was all the United Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
There was no other country. There was no Europe.
Really?
There was no
Oh.
nope. All United Kingdom, all of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I've never been though. I would love to go.
You should go.
Yeah. Well, if I ever make it to Ireland, I'm definitely going to come stay with you.
There's no doubt about it. You're very well.
Well, I'll come visit for sure. I'm not going to impose myself, but no,
all.
but I would really love to go. As a matter of fact, and don't be offended by this, but my first bucket list, if I could go anywhere, would be Scotland. That would be my number one.
Well, if that's where your ancestors came from, and
That's why I want to go.
you ought to go there. Yeah.
But when I see a movie or I watch a TV show or anything about Scotland, and I have a good friend, well, I guess we're really well acquainted. So shout out to my friend Matt, who lives in Scotland. He lives way up in the Isle of Lewis. You know where that's at?
Yeah.
Way out.
Okay,
Like you have to take boats to get where
Sure,
he lives.
yep.
Yeah. So he moved from down in the metropolitan area of England to he wanted to get away. So they're up in Scotland. So anyways, so Matt will watch the show occasionally, and so I'm just saying hello to him. He's watching. We've done some business together, and anyways, so where was I getting this? Oh, so he always tells me, the weather in Scotland is, wet, rainy,
Sure it is. Yeah.
overcast, like this stuff. But when I see it on TV or in a movie, it's just something that I'm just drawn to it.
It's idyllic, isn't it?
No, I really. So you were telling me, speaking of that, you were telling me about a Johnny Cash song.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, Johnny Cash came to Ireland well, on a number of occasions, and he toured around, played several of the very large dance halls and
I did not know that.
Yeah, and he wrote a song about Ireland because he couldn't really get over the fact that every field that he went past was green, but it wasn't the same color green as the field that he'd just driven past.
Right.
So he wrote a song called 40 Shades of Green.
40 Shades of Green.
And it's one of the most popular Irish songs
really
throughout the world. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's interesting. I have not heard of that song.
Oh.
I'm definitely gonna look it up now.
Yeah, well, that's because maybe you came from the Scotland. You see, a lot of the Scottish people, probably a lot of your ancestors, they came to Ireland as well. So
Yeah.
You could probably consider yourself a little bit Irified.
Irified. Okay. All right. Dan was asking, how did you and I meet? Well, we met through the coffee shop.
We did,
right?
yes.
You came in with your family, and
Yeah.
that's how we met. And I have met so many people in our shop. I've met people that have come from New Zealand, people that are from a lot of people from the UK actually. I think honestly, the person I've met is probably I think New Zealand is probably the furthest away of the people, but they're just it's weird how people are just passing through.
Yeah.
What happens is they're like, well, what brought you to Galt? Like, how did you land in Galt if you're traveling from New Zealand? Well, what it is a lot of people that come into California, they're traveling, they want to go to Yosemite.
Sure.
So they're passing through this area kind of on their way to Yosemite, and they're traveling the 99 highway, and they're just like looking up coffee shop or place to get food, whatever. And that's how they stumble upon our place. So that's typically what I find out from talking to people. And so Dan's also asking, so how did your son end up in Galt?
I think he probably met his wife in a place called Novato.
Okay.
And
Bay Area?
Yep. So I think work had brought him up to Santa Rosa.
Okay.
So which is be further up from here, isn't that right?
Yes.
I'm not sure. So
it's northwest of here.
Yeah. So after quite a number of years working for Apple, he decided it was time for a change, and he was invited to take up a post with Rivian.
So your son, you were just telling me that before the show, your son works for Rivian, the
Yeah.
electric car company. It was really cool. Shout out to a couple of my customers that drive Rivians, Rick and his wife, Sylvia. We call him Cold Brew Rick because that's all he comes in and buys, cold brew.
Okay.
So he just has this nickname. We nickname customers like based on their drinks.
So what about watermelon?
We actually have drink names named after people.
Really?
Oh yeah, somebody will come in and say, "I'll take a Jeanette," or "I'll take a Heather," and those names are specific. They're started by somebody who would come in and order a specific drink that's made a certain way, and then somebody else would go like, "What are you drinking?" And this is something. So then that's how it got its name. So now that drink has a specific name.
That's fantastic.
And then we have like a cheat sheet. How do you make a so and so? Yeah. There's so many of them really, but so what? How old was your son when he came to the United States?
I think he started off. It was just before his last year in university. And he came over. He stayed with my aunt, who they lived down in Walnut Creek.
Okay.
And then he started coming back. After that,
Caught the bug, and he just wanted to go to America.
Yeah, sure. And then.
So let me ask you this: do you think it's a common for young teenagers or young adults coming of age in Ireland, growing up in Ireland? Is it a fascination of people in Ireland generally that they want to go to America to at least see what it's about or see what it's like or go to America, or is it not really a thing that people don't really care?
No, I think that there's an awful lot of attraction in America for the late teenagers, early 20s, to come along and see what it's like, because it's always been put in our minds that there's an opportunity here. If you're prepared to go and work hard, then you'll get repaid.
Same as it's been for a couple hundred years, right?
Exactly.
Same example, right?
Actually,
is there generally? I mean, I know Ireland is a big country. Well, for an island country, it's fairly large, I guess you could say. Not like the United States,
Yeah.
but is it? I mean, so is it a lot of diversity in different areas? Not, one part of Ireland is not necessarily like the other part. Is there generally a lot of job opportunities, or is it pretty minimal about what your opportunities are in Ireland?
It's much the same as what you would find in Scotland, England, or Wales. There
Okay.
are, certain activities that are akin to parts of any part of Ireland as they are to any part of the rest of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
And therefore, people who are probably insular in the areas that they live in, and that the opportunity is there, and that's what they normally will grab, and they'll get the interest from universities as well to develop those industries within Ireland. But then there's also a number of people who take that education that they've got and develop it through their own minds, and then spread it out throughout the rest of the world.
What do you think? So what is I think I might know the answer to this when I ask you, what is the biggest industry in Ireland? Is it fishing or something like that?
Folk music.
Really?
No.
We'll get to that in a second. We'll explain what that's about. Yeah. No. But is it something to do with the ocean? I mean, because I always assume that if you're an island country, that fishing has to be a big industry.
All around the coast of Ireland, there's fishermen, and
Right.
there's great fishing industries. We've other major industries in Ireland. Technology is one of them.
Really?
Yes, we have a lot of hubs in Ireland that have been developed through the modern day technology, and they then have developed it from there.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. I mean, I think, I imagine there's a lot of, if you live on the coast of Ireland, which you live on the coast.
Yeah.
What's the city called that you live in?
Donaghadee.
I'm not even
don't
going to act like I can say that again. Say it one more time.
Donaghadee. You've got to have an act in your
To be able to say,
vocabulary.
yeah. Okay. And it's on the northeastern part, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where about that's the closest part, about 18 miles over to Scotland.
Really?
Yeah. So
Only-
that your ancestors probably swam it.
That would be a cold swim.
It would
18
be.
mile. Yeah, I don't know. Did they put their swim kilts on and go for it? Yeah.
I don't know what it-
So I would imagine that you get like some ancestral, if you live in a coastal town where the fishing is big, that you're like, well, my grandfather was a fisherman and dad was a fisherman. I'm going to be a fisherman. Is there a lot of ancestral, like, people stay in the industry?
Yes.
It's
A lot
really,
of people, yes, have done that down through the years. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's very much like if you go back east, to like Maine,
Yeah.
or I'm trying to think of some of the big, I'm going to just totally just ruin this right now, but I'm just blanking on the areas that are really known for all their fishing,
Yeah.
On the East Coast of the United States. I think it's very much like that. People are very,
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a lot of farming in Ireland as well.
and what's the main crop there? Is it potatoes?
No,
Or is that just a stereotype?
Yeah, it's a
That's a stereotype. Okay,
yeah.
we are gonna debunk a lot of stereotypes on the show tonight. So we're gonna educate you guys tonight.
Well, I can tell you that a story that is very prevalent in fact, just to where we live. In actual fact, there was a lady farmer who had lost her husband, and she had 4 kids. And whenever King William came over to have his battles in Ireland, 1690, he commissioned all of his senior officers to go and catch all the, whatever the word is, take all these people's horses. He needed them for his army.
Okay.
And he brought them all down to a town in Drogheda. And one of the horses that he took belonged to this lady who lived in Donaghadee, well, just beside Donaghadee.
Okay.
And she walked from there 90 odd miles to Drogheda to get her horse back. You see, and she was dressed as a man. And whenever she got there, she was arrested because they thought that she was a spy.
Oh my gosh.
So she was put into prison, and then they suddenly realized, oh, this is not a man,
It's
it's
a-
a woman. And she was then brought in front of King William, who listened to her story, and she said, look, you've taken away my livelihood. I can't till my lands, can't plow.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the horses were not just
Yeah.
transportation; they
That's
would
right, yeah.
pull the plows, they were
Yes,
tilling. Yeah, that was your
and,
main. That was like having a tractor.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well, this was your
100%, yeah.
tractor, you know.
Yeah.
So then she explained to him, and then not only did he take mine, he took my two neighbours as well. So apparently, King William, and this story is written in good format, and the
Hmm.
whole story. She took two of her neighbours' horses as well, and King William gave her an escort back to
Really?
Donaghadee.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, I bet. I doubt. I don't know which one King William was, but I don't think there's a lot of them that were really that looked upon
No.
back in the 1600s,
Not
right?
at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, is it because of where you're at and where you live? Is it traditionally kind of wet and damp, and does it rain a lot there, or not really?
It rains a lot,
Rains a lot. Is it windy a lot?
and it's windy a lot.
Ugh,
We
I don't like
have
the wind. I don't mind rain. I just do not like the wind. The wind just I don't know, something about windy just wears me out.
I've noticed being here in different times of the year, which we have done over the past 4 years in Galt, and in fact down in Novato as well. But what I have noticed is that you could have the same temperature in Northern Ireland as what you have here, but you'd be cold in Northern Ireland because you have a chill factor.
Oh,
which
right.
The wind comes. It nearly would. You'd feel like it was going to cut you in two.
Yeah.
But
I've been to
there's that
places like
difference,
that
yeah.
where it's just such a bone chilling cold
Yeah,
that it could be the temperature, but it's just a different kind of
that's
cold.
right. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Having said that, I mean, it's the loveliest country in the world,
of course it is.
and we'd love you to come.
I would love to go. You have no idea. If I could just get out, if I could just get out of Galt, it's a lot harder to get out of Galt than you think. I mean, I'm like working in the salt mines practically 6 days a week. Then I have, then I have, politics and all that stuff. Yeah, it's tough. But you know what? Someday I got a year and a half left of my term, and then I'll hopefully maybe have.
You're
a little
breaking
more
my heart here, Sean. You know,
I'd love to go.
because every time we come here, we say, "When are you going to come over to
I
Ireland
know,
again?" You know,
I know. I would love to go. I can't afford it. I don't make enough on city council to afford to travel. I don't even make enough to travel outside of Galt, much less travel to Ireland. I'd have to stow away
you
somewhere.
could go for a publicity.
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah, for a political visit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we could meet the mayor. You can introduce me to the mayor of what's the mayor's name of your city?
I haven't a clue.
You don't even know who the mayor is?
No, I don't.
You know who the mayor is of Galt, but you don't know who the mayor is of the town you live. That's funny.
Well, he hasn't got a coffee shop for a start off.
Oh, okay. Well, shoot, he better get his act together.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on. Well, you're gonna have to get back to me and let me know his name. That's your homework for when you go home. I'm gonna need to know next time I talk to you. You're gonna need to know who the mayor's name is.
I'll text you his name.
So speaking of that, you brought back some police patches and stuff, remember? And you
Yeah.
gave them to the chief.
That's right.
He was
yeah.
very thankful for that. He really
yeah.
enjoyed that gift. That was very thoughtful of you. And you gave one to me, and I have
That's
it.
right.
I have it in I have a nice glass bookcase in my living room
that's
with some,
lovely to
and
know.
I have
That
it in
really
there.
is, yeah. That's
I
really
have it in
lovely
there.
to know.
Yeah, but I have a lot of antiques and things, and so
Yeah.
it's in there, and yeah, it's really awesome.
Well, that's those plaques were from the new police force, which is about 5 years old.
Yeah, was it
5
a
years.
thing like a folder? And it's got the
That's
patches
right,
kind of pinned in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole
Uh-huh.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really nice. So you mentioned folk singing
Oh,
earlier,
yeah,
right?
right.
So believe it or not, and I didn't know this, but Barry is a bit of a rock star when he was younger. So you were part of a folk band, a folk singing band, right? Called Saltwater Brig.
That's right. Yeah.
Saltwater Brig, and I'm sure you can figure out based on the name that it had something to do with being on the ocean, boats thing, saltwater, right?
Actually,
So where did the name come from?
Actually, no, the name came from a pub.
Really?
It's a
Oh,
pub.
what do I know?
Okay.
Sorry,
I
misinformation.
just between two small towns. One of them was Portaferry, and the other is Kirkcudbright.
Okay.
And I don't know how the actual pub got its name, but because it's really on there's a saltwater inlet behind the pub, so
Okay.
I presume that's what it's called that. And the pub owner had a brig ship, so that's I presume that's
A brig is like a type of ship.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yep. So and
Saltwater Brig.
yeah. So whenever a friend of ours actually bought the pub, we thought I had played with a group before this called the Traveling People.
The traveling what?
Traveling People.
Okay.
So
It's a very complex name.
absolutely
The traveling people.
exactly. Here they are.
Because we travel and we're people.
That's true. So we asked him, "Can we have your name?" And he was absolutely delighted, provided you come down here and play on a Friday night.
Right, right. You had a
So-
regular gig there, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many people were in your group?
Five
5.
guys.
And it was all so we have a clip, by the way, of one of Barry's songs from way back in the day. We're gonna play it in a moment. But so the 4 of you, did all of you play instruments, or was one of them a singer and one played an instrument, or tell me
No,
about that?
we were three main singers. We had a flute player and a fiddle player, a couple of guitars, and I played what they call a long arm string banjo. And
So you play the banjo, huh?
yeah,
Can you still play it?
I can still play it. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
My grandsons have got together, and because I have actually now retired from professional singing,
Right. Yeah, I gathered that.
yeah, they now have the name, and they're going to be playing with a new saltwater brig.
So they're still doing this?
They're going to be playing, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys formed this group in what year?
It was formed around about 1977. We first came to America in 1980 for
You guys came to America and toured
yeah,
in America, right?
Yeah, for San Francisco. We came originally for the San Francisco St. Patrick's Day celebrations. And we toured around San Francisco City on the back of a flatbed lorry.
So you guys didn't believe me when I told them I flew them in special. They came all the way from Ireland just for a St. Patty's Day celebration in San Francisco. I mean,
yeah. Well, we played for 3 or 4 weeks as well, and we were stationed in we were playing from a pub in Geary Street in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Called the Spinning Wheel.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been to. I know where Gary Street is.
yeah.
Yeah.
We were there, and then we did Livermore. I can't remember Livermore, Walnut Creek, Danville. We played
Danville,
in the
yeah.
Danville Hotel, which is no longer there.
Huh.
It's now
No kidding.
blocks
And
of
all
flats
this
just
was
above
in the late 70s or early 80s, right?
1980s.
In the 1980s. Wow.
So then we got the bug, went back home again, and we did up and down Ireland, of course, a few in Scotland, Wales, and didn't venture into England at that particular
So
time.
this was before you were like had a family or anything, then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, you
Absolutely,
guys, this was more for fun. I mean, you guys, I mean, were you a big enough group that you actually you made a living on it, or were you guys just like on a shoestring budget?
No, we made a living on it.
Really?
We did pretty
That's
good. Yeah,
awesome.
so,
What a life.
yes, absolutely. Well, it was hard life. We took a tour of Canada. We did 56 concerts in 63 days.
So you guys were a big deal.
Yeah, so we did
No
from
kidding.
one side of Canada to the other, and we actually had a young boy when I was in Vancouver Island, which is called Victoria Island,
Right.
and he came up onto the stage after the show, and he came over to me. I was putting my banjo into my case, and he said, "Are you famous?" And I looked at him and I said, "How am I going to answer this?" So I said, "Well, do you know where Vancouver is?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Do you know where Toronto is?" He said, "Yep." I said, "You heard of Ireland?" And he thought for a moment or two, and he said, yeah, I've heard of Ireland, And I said, "Well, look, they know me in Ireland, and they know me in Toronto, they know me in Vancouver, and now you've met me." And he says, "Okay, would you sign my autograph book, please?"
Nice. Yeah, he was vetting you. He's like making sure. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
going to waste this guy's. I'm going to ask this guy. This guy's not going to sign my book unless he's really famous.
Exactly. Yeah. But better
Yeah.
than that, I had just finished putting the banjo away, and I heard footsteps coming across the stage, and I thought, "Sounds like a woman." So next thing, she's standing beside me, and I looked around, and I looked up, and she said, "Does this fella Barry Carruth have a mother called Maureen?" And I said, "Well, actually, yes." She said, "You know that your mum and dad have a caravan, which is a trailer, as you call them over here,
Okay.
beside my mum and dad in a place called Clocky in Northern Ireland."
No kidding.
No kidding.
What a small world.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I looked at her and I said, "Yes."
Is
Exactly.
Carruth is that a common? Is that an
No,
uncommon
it's
name?
not really. It derives from Carruthers or Carruths or and from Scotland. Some people have it with 2 R's and some people just have it with 1 R. But we've only got 1 R, so we're not the posh ones.
Oh, yeah, the one R. You one R. You're
Yeah.
not the pirate.
That's
You know, people. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
I'm the
R.
R.
Yeah, that's a dad joke, by the way, for us, for those of you dads out there. So we have a clip of Barry. So this clip, so this song, this is his group, Saltwater Brig, and this song is called "Day of the Clipper."
That's right.
Clipper meaning, you know, clipper ship. So these are, and when you hear it, you're going to totally think like you can just vision, you know, the sea and the sweat. I mean, when I think of Ireland, I do kind of think of like the ocean and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
So when I heard this, when you told me about it, I looked it up on YouTube. It's on YouTube, by the way.
Oh.
So yeah, you're famous. It's on YouTube. It made me think of that. Like it very much makes me think of the sea.
Yeah.
You know, and were all your songs kind of like this style of song, or are they all? What I'm getting at is, were all your songs kind of about the sea and the ocean and stuff, or are they about other things too?
No, it's the sea is part and parcel of sea shanties that a lot of England, Wales, and Scotland would have sea shanties attached to their cultures of music, and we in Ireland would have that. But there's an awful lot of folk history of a lot of our music.
All right. Well, without further ado, we're going to play a short clip, not very long, a short clip of Barry's former famous career. And this is what era? When was this recorded? How old were you when you were singing this?
This, oh gosh, that was 1985. I recorded. No,
1983.
sorry, 1983.
1983.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, is it? When I heard it, it very much sounds like your voice. But is that actually multiple people's voices, or is that your voice that I'm hearing?
That's my voice.
That's your voice. I thought so. All right. So, anyways, well, here we go. So, this is "The Day of the Clipper" by Saltwater Brig.
And everyone on board can hear her call. With a hearty shout, she'll turn about and sail off in the rain. And you know the clipper likes it best of all. And sailing ships and sailing men will sail the open water, where the only thing that matters is the wind inside the main. So all your loving mothers, keep your eyes upon your daughters, and the sails will mend their tatters, and the masts will rise again.
Yeah, so it's very cool. I like the part about keep your eye on your daughters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you guys are a rough crowd. You better keep your eye on your daughters when we come to town. A couple of sailors. Oh man, it's really cool. It's got a cool little vibe to it. I listened to it a few times when I found it on YouTube, and it really has that. I don't know. It's just kind of cool. I would love to hear. I wish I could hear some of the other stuff you guys did, but that were. But that's very much sounds like you. Your voice is very. I knew that was you. I mean, if you had say, "Hey, listen to the song," and you didn't tell me that you were singing that, I would have said, "That's you, right?" I mean, because it sounds like you. Very cool.
Yeah,
that's kind of awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. So you know, there's all these other stereotypes that we always. I think I don't know. Call us ignorant in America that we just think, but you know, there's like St. Patrick's Day, and there's like leprechauns, and there's the 4-leaf clover, and all these things that we associate with like. So tell us about well, St. Patrick's Day is a real thing, right? I mean,
oh sure, yeah.
Is that really like the biggest holiday in Ireland?
That's the biggest thing in Ireland. Yes,
it is, yeah. Right? I figured it was.
The next one you would probably say would be the 12th of July, which is the celebrations of the 1690 rebellion.
Oh, okay.
Or not rebellion.
The 12th of July.
The 12th of July. Yeah.
Interesting.
But they're two pieces of history in our culture, and we love to celebrate them. It's a bank holiday. The bank's closed for both.
We close banks every time I turn around. There's a holiday. We just make up new holidays and close banks. I think banks look for reasons to be closed.
Yeah,
I don't know. So St. Patrick's Day, big deal in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a stereotype that everybody. Do Irish people, generally speaking, love to drink? I mean, I think we're like, when you go to Ireland, everybody's just walking around with like we're just walking down the street and everybody's just carrying big mugs of Guinness and you're just cheers to everybody.
Well, absolutely. I mean, what else is there in life, but a good pint of Guinness, It's
is that the number one beer there?
It's the number one.
No,
beer there,
yeah. All
absolutely.
right. Yeah.
It's in fact we like to think it's nearly the number one all over the world. You can
Oh,
find-
well, of
you-
course it is.
Yeah,
Of course.
you can get Guinness over here. Can't
No,
you?
it's actually very popular here.
Yeah. yeah.
I'm not a huge. I drink beer, but I'm not a huge beer drinker. To be
Right.
honest with you, I I drink it, but I'm not like. I have friends who are big into IPAs and this kind of stuff. I'm not really a big fan of that. I usually, if I do drink beer, I like drink like a Belgian white or something like that. I'm more of a bourbon drinker. I love bourbon, so if I'm gonna drink, it's gonna be bourbon.
Well, it's quite nice
I like
too.
I don't like Scotch. That's funny,
Oh.
but I don't care for Scotch. I don't.
Oh, are
Bourbon.
you sure that ancestry was correct?
I don't know, maybe, but if I go to Scotland, I would have to have some Scotch.
I see,
Just
yeah.
like if I come to Ireland, you're gonna have to take me down to a great pub so I can have a mug of Guinness,
Well, I can
and
take
we can take a picture together.
I
right?
can take you to the oldest pub in Ireland.
Really.
Yeah, which is
That
in
sounds amazing.
Donaghadee.
Is it really
Yes,
in the
it's-
town you live?
Yeah,
It's
called-
the oldest in Ireland where
it's
you
the
live,
Oldest pub in Ireland where we live. Yeah,
and it's from how old?
1611.
Wow. Could you imagine owning? Could you imagine owning a pub that you could claim this is the oldest pub?
Yeah. Well, of course, the lady that it's named after is not alive any longer, you know. But one of her great grandsons is, and he does a tour.
So
Oh,
is
the
it still
history.
owned by the same family?
No, it's not.
No. I was just wondering, something that old that has such a history, how often does something like that come available for sale where you can own something like that?
Well, it has several owners over
Really?
the past number of years that I have
Really?
been associated with it. In actual fact, one of the owners that had a problem with the floor in one of the small parts of the
I
bar.
wonder
at the
why. I
front.
mean, it's only 400 years old.
Yeah. so
I don't know what's wrong with this floor. I mean, we just
Yeah.
put it in 400 years ago.
I know that. Yeah, it was a hole in it.
Well, first of all, does it have a? I mean, what do we call it, a floor? I mean, because let's be honest with you, in 1690, it probably just was dirt.
More than likely, but they had developed it into it was made of timber. And my brother and myself and another friend, we said, look, to this friend of ours who owned the pub, we said, look, we'll take the floor out on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And so we after didn't even have any Guinness that night because we got to work all through the
Oh,
night.
shame on it.
Well, we took all the timbers out of it and we put some concrete into it on the Sunday. And I saw that the timber it looked like it had been the end of a rib of a ship. And there was a
Wow,
hole in
that's
it, you see.
incredible.
You see, so I took it.
Yeah, you
to-
guys didn't just toss that stuff
Oh,
away.
no, well,
did you?
I took it up to the Ulster Folk Transport Museum where they have experts who would be able to find where this timber actually came
Oh,
from.
yeah.
And of course, we thought it must have been Irish timber. Absolutely, it must have come from, but it wasn't. It came from a Dutch ship. He was able to name the ship. It came from a Dutch ship
Wait,
that had
whoa.
foundered out
Are you
off the coast of Donaghadee.
And they pillaged some of the wood off of it and used it for the.
Yeah, they probably knocked
No
the ship
kidding.
off itself.
So how far did the wood date back?
Well, that, I don't know. He didn't give me a date on it, but
Oh.
I had thought that they might have wanted to use it in the museum, and that's what he said because it had been belonged to
What
a
a
Dutch ship.
what a cool story.
Yeah.
That would be so neat to just
Yeah.
have that and go learn that and find out that it was
Yeah.
just a ship and they just
Well, it certainly would have been somewhere in the region of probably the 1690 up another 50 years.
so you and your buddies,
Yeah.
it's the oldest pub in Ireland. We'll just you guys are sitting around with some pints, right? Well, something wrong with the floor. We can fix that.
Absolutely.
We'll come over Saturday. We'll rip it out. Whatever. And they
exactly
said,
what we
okay,
did.
sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
But that's pretty cool that you can say that you actually worked
Yeah.
on. I mean, were you ever a carpenter of any sort by trade, or it's just something you know?
No.
No.
Now, I started off my working career as a trainee surveyor, and what I loved to do was whenever I was going around the site, building sites that we were working on, I was looking at the joiners working with their wood and how they shaped it into the way that it should have been to build houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I learned about all of hammers and nails.
So let me get this straight. The owner of the pub, the oldest pub in Ireland
Yep.
from 1690, 1611,
Yeah.
let a few guys that were in the bar come in and rip the floor out and just figure. This, folks, is why they had several owners of the bar, because these people do not know what they're doing. You got to have like an expert come in and do that.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, the floor, in our coffee shop is we're not really sure exactly how old it is. It's probably from the 30s.
Yeah.
And it's, uneven and creaks and, but it gives it its
Well,
character.
we
Though. It's
could
really
come
neat.
over and fix it for you.
Yeah, I bet you could. Yeah, we'll come over. Just
Yeah.
just have a couple pints of Guinness for us, and we'll just dive right in.
That'll do fine.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So anyway, so St. Patrick's Day, big huge holiday. Is it like a big to do? I mean, does everybody's like it's like the Super Bowl, right? Of like everybody's out. Do you have like parades and
Yes,
all
they
the
do,
things,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me some tradition that happens that people do on St. Patrick's Day besides drinking, because we know we do that maybe we're not aware of here that is something that's commonplace
Well, the leprechauns come out on that day.
for sure.
Sure, absolutely. They come down from the hills where they live, the caves,
Yeah.
And I showed you 2 photographs of them in the middle.
Oh
of,
yeah.
yeah.
So tell us about what's the folklore behind the leprechaun. What is really the history there? I have no. I mean, I really don't know actually where that started or what that's from. What is that about?
Well, it comes up whenever the kids were at the bottom of the hills when they were scrounging around for foraging, and all of a sudden a leprechaun would have come out of a hole in the ground, and directed them to the right place to find what they were looking for, what treasure they were looking for, because the leprechauns would have hidden it,
And so that everything comes from some
myths.
So
Yeah.
where do you think that myth derived
I
from?
have no idea. Probably somebody who had drunk too much Guinness.
I was just gonna say that. Well, probably from some drunk guy came out. Oh yeah, I was drinking up in the hills over there, and then I was foraging, and I couldn't find it. And then this little leprechaun, this guy came out of the cave, and he showed me where it was at.
Probably
Jesus.
something like that.
What the heck? Oh my gosh, that's funny. So that's a real thing. So leprechaun. Okay, so that's a real myth. So we didn't. That's not a pop culture. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So what's the pot of gold thing? How does that associate with the leprechauns?
Well, it comes at the end of a rainbow.
Right. Of course.
You got rainbows over here, do you?
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you can catch the end of that rainbow, there'll be a leprechaun, with his pot of gold.
That's probably another pub story. Somebody who's like, hey, I bet you couldn't catch that. I bet you a pint and you can't find the end of that rainbow right out there. You see that rainbow?
Yeah.
Go see it. If oh, sure, I'll be right back.
Okay, maybe more than 1 pint.
Oh my gosh. But no, that would be really awesome to go. So I had a friend, Cody, who went to Boston
Yeah.
during the 4th of July. So
Oh, right.
Being in Boston on the 4th of July is probably like being in Ireland
Exactly.
on St.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day,
Mhm.
right? It's like a big to do, right? There's people walking around like in like revolutionary like wardrobe,
Yep.
Dressed up,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. And he had a drink. He said he wouldn't have had a drink, and I hope I get the name right. I'll butcher this, but I believe that the pub is called the Green Dragon or something like that.
Right.
It's apparently one of the oldest. I don't want to say it's the oldest because that may be inaccurate, but I'm trying to remember the story. But it's one of the oldest pubs apparently in the area. Well, but its claim to fame from this particular pub is that apparently George Washington and the other revolutionaries used to meet there and plot the revolution.
Is that right?
Yeah, apparently
Okay.
they have a booth
Yeah.
in there, I guess. And if somebody is watching the show, they could totally just chat in or they can email me or something. Apparently there's a booth or some little spot in there where they're saying that's where they actually used to sit. And you can sit there, I guess, I think. And that's their claim to fame is that
Yeah.
that's pretty cool though, right?
That's a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of, I think it's there's some truth to it. I
Yeah.
don't know, or it's just some drunken tale that somebody, that's
Yeah.
where George Washington sat. But anyways, they claim it's their thing. They claim that's where he, whatever. And I don't know. Sounds pretty
Well,
cool.
St. Patrick's Day, you see, we
Oh, Kaylin just says it's called Warren Tavern.
I see.
She's researching it right now. We have our specialists off screen right now. They're looking this up so we can find this information. We have
Yeah.
people. We have people here that are going to
Yeah.
do this.
Well, we in Ireland on St. Patrick's Day have green beer.
Of course you do. We
Yeah,
do that
absolutely.
here.
Yeah, that's good.
By the way, since we're talking Ireland, I think we need to be having some background music here going. So we're going to stream some music in the background while we're talking here, so we can really create the mood. Yeah. So I was going to tell you there's this Galt tradition on St. Patrick's Day. Did you know that there's actually a resolution that was passed by the City of Council of Galt that declared Galt the city of St. Patrick.
No.
It still exists. We looked it up and we found it. It still exists. We don't do it anymore, unfortunately, but we need to bring that back.
You need to be absolutely.
And so how it worked is, so our treasurer Sean Farrell, his dad name was Tom Farrell. He started it, and a bunch of other people started it. Like a bunch of good old boys in Galt started this tradition. And what they would do is they would name the city of St. Patrick for St. Patrick's Day. And what you had to do is everybody changed their last name to O something.
Right.
Like, my last name would be O Farmer.
All right.
Or O so yeah. Just so goofy, right? So when somebody would call somebody, if you called a business in town, you had to answer the phone and say, "Hi, this is Sean O Farmer speaking." If you didn't do that, then you got I forget what they call it, but you almost got like a citation or something, right? And you had to appear in some kind of little fake court of some sort.
I see.
That it was a kangaroo court. That's what it was. It was like a kangaroo court, and they would like sentence you to whatever. And it was this whole big to do. They would whatever. And so, true story. And you're gonna have to go back and watch this episode. I'll email you the link to this episode so you can watch it because he tells the story. So Tom and Sean, his father, he was just a kid at the time. They went to the post office in Galt and they ran an Irish flag up on the flagpole.
Right.
And the postmaster, this is a really small town. Galt was very small then. The postmaster called their house. And Sean said, I remember the postmaster calling and was like chewing out his down the phone. He's like, God damn it, Tom, you better get over here and take this flag. This is a federal building. You could go to jail for this. If that thing's not down in the next couple hours, I'm calling the police and you're going to get in big trouble for this. You need to get that flag down. So they went over and they took the flag down.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, it's a big deal. It was and so when I was growing up in Galt, St. Patrick's Day was a big to-do. As a matter of fact, this photo right here behind us, this is Sonny Boy Ross. I explained to you, this is his St. Patrick's Day little get up that he would do. And they had a drinking contest. They had a beer drinking contest here in one of the local. There was a drinking establishment just down the sidewalk here that was called Patty's Pub.
Right.
I kid you not. It was called Patty's Pub.
Okay.
It was still there when I was a kid. And so obviously, if you have a tavern or a bar, so we call them here, that's called Patty's Pub. Obviously, St. Patrick's Day is a big deal.
Yeah.
At your pub, right? That's
Sure.
like your day too, right? So they would have a drinking contest. They had a tug of war. They used to have a tug of war where they would actually have people come in and they would have a tug of war over this old ditch with water in it, with mud and stuff, and have a tug of war. And they had bed races. Now, I don't know what the deal with the bed races is, but you would have like a bed frame with the wheels on it, and somebody would lay on the bed frame, and the other people would push you down the street, and they would race down the street right here.
Right.
Yeah. So that whole tradition, all those traditions are all gone now. They don't celebrate that anymore and do anything. But the one tradition that's still carried on by certain people in town, and I'm not going to name any names, but some people have carried this tradition on about painting. They paint the stripe in the middle of the street with green paint on St. Patrick's Day. They still do it. Every St. Patrick's Day, a group of people come down and they paint the stripe green. And it's just one of those little tiny things that keeps that tradition going. It's kind of cool. If you're ever out here on there's no way you would be out of Ireland on St. Patrick's Day because that would be silly for you to do that. But should you ever happen to be here in Galt on St. Patrick's Day, we would be honored if you would come out and help us paint the stripe green.
I'll tell you what, you can send me a video of it. I would do.
I'll send you some pictures.
I'll do.
As a matter of fact, if you drive out of here and drive down the street, you look at the center line. I bet you it's green right now still from March.
Okay.
It's still green. I think so. Isn't it, Kellen? I still think it has color on it, doesn't it? The green stripe? Yeah. Anyways. So what else haven't we talked about? It has to do with do you live, how far from the water do you live? Do you live right on the ocean or do you live just a little ways from it?
About 200 yards.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Do you ever get any big storms and stuff where it's your place is in
absolutely.
danger?
Yeah, well, I have the side of my house has got 100 feet of fencing, 6 foot high, made out of timber. And just before Christmas this year, it blew down.
Oh, wow.
And we put it back up again. So we thought we'd done a really, really great job. And I think it was last month, but just this February, we got a warning of a very, very severe 100-mile-an-hour
100 mile an hour.
100
Whoa.
miles an hour winds.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be
and
concerning.
it was sort of, it was quite well forecasted, you know, time wise and everything else. I looked out through one of the windows in my house at 7 o'clock in the morning, petrified to see what I was going to see, and I thought, fantastic. Our work was good, lovely fence, standing up straight.
Well, apparently you do know what you're doing. Here we
After-
thought you weren't a carpenter, but you are.
I know, but the truth of the story was that my wife gave me a shout at 11 o'clock. I said, Barry, the fence is down.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
flattened again. But yeah, we did get some very severe weather.
So good at
from it.
fixing pub floors, not so good at fixing fences.
Yeah.
Right. So Dan's asking, do you drink, and if so, what's your favorite drink?
Jack Daniels.
Are you serious?
No.
You're joking, or are you serious?
No.
Because he's saying, he said beer or whiskey, and favorite Irish whiskey. And if you do drink whiskey, what is your favorite Irish whiskey or Scotch?
Well, I'm not sure. Scotch wouldn't really be all that keen on the Scotch.
Okay, so what about the Irish whiskey?
Irish whiskey would be Bush.
Bush?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard of that. Dan will have to answer.
It's in from a pub up in Bushmills,
Oh, okay.
and they have several versions of it. There's
Well, next time you come out, you need to bring us a bottle.
I have a
Dan
bottle.
and I would love to have we'll have a drink of it on the show.
I will have a bottle the next time I come out with me.
All right, sounds like a plan. There you go, Dan. We're getting a bottle of
Okay.
straight from Ireland. It's going to come from Ireland.
Yeah.
And we're going to drink it on the show. This isn't always a PG show. We're allowed to drink on the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'll remember that.
So one of our viewers, Harry Wenzel, wants to know: do men still wear kilts in Ireland?
Yes.
Really?
Not every day.
Not every day,
Not every day.
but they do for occasions.
Yes, they do. And in actual fact, in a small street in Belfast, there is a kilt making shop.
Really?
Yeah, and people from all over will come to buy their kilts.
Oh, I would
yeah.
see if I was ever in Belfast, I would totally go there and buy one just to say that I bought a kilt from. I would totally do that.
Yeah, it costs you about £2,500.
Oh, wow. Okay. Maybe not.
Well, you maybe get cheaper ones saying you're Scottish, you know.
Wait. To that. No, are you serious? To that £2,500?
Yeah, well, that would be the whole suit that you would get.
Oh
for
my
that.
God. And they actually sell those?
Yeah, because people get married wearing
25
kilts.
Whoa, wait a second. And so I think right now, so correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the pound is a little stronger than the dollar right now.
Right. Okay.
I think a pound is like
120 was it?
I think it's like 1.1 or 1.2 versus
Right. Okay.
American dollars versus so basically a pound. I believe I'm not sure, but because I look at cars and things
Yep.
so I want to say it's like 90. A pound is like 90 cents
All right.
per
Okay.
dollar, so it's a little stronger than the dollar
Sure,
typically.
Okay.
It's not always been. There's times where it
Always
changes.
something that yeah.
But I bought a car once from my friend Matt that I mentioned. I actually bought a car from him and I had it shipped over, and the conversion rate at that time I think was like 1.1.
Yeah.
So it was
Okay.
a little stronger. Yeah. So I didn't get that great of a deal
Yeah.
because and it fluctuates. Like when I had wired the money, the next day I
Mhm.
went, it actually changed, and I actually had to pay a little
Yeah.
more money because
Yeah.
the day I wired the money, the exchange rate had changed, from day to day.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking for the kilt, you'll have to provide your authenticity as to what pattern it's going to be,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what colors it's going to be.
See, I would love to do some research. I just haven't found the time to try to dig in to find. I'm trying to find out the names. I was able to trace my ancestry through ancestry.com. One of those. I was able to trace back. My father's side is a little tough. See, that's the problem. My father's side is tough because they were traditionally from like Oklahoma and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, they didn't keep good records. When you go back into the 1800s, people were born at home.
Yep.
They didn't have documents.
Yep.
My mother's side, they were from Vermont and the East Coast. So, they got married in churches. So there's good documentation of marriages.
Sure.
They had kids. Birth certificates were very well documented. So because of the culture on the East Coast, I was able to track back my mother's. So my
Yeah.
maternal lineage through my grandfather, which
Yep.
he died when I wasn't even my grandfather died when my mother was a year old.
All right.
So she didn't even really know her father. But I was able to trace his lineage back way, way, way further
Mhm.
than my father's side, unfortunately. So,
Right.
but yeah, yeah, we kind of need to go and
Well, there'll be a farmer's. If you can get the name, that's all you really need. And
Right.
there'll be a pattern for that.
yeah.
You know.
So, I always think it would be fascinating to visit a place like, and I'm sure this is the same with Ireland as in Scotland, is to go visit these places where you can stand in a place and go, like, for example, the pub.
Yep.
You say this pub is from 1611. You can't really go many places in the United States
That's 16.
that are more than a couple hundred years old. Here we go.
Sure.
Wow, this place is 200 years old. People are like, oh my gosh, 200 years old.
Yep.
Or you can go back in the East Coast. You can go to like Boston and Massachusetts and like that. But still, to find places that are much older than 1700, it's going to be difficult, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
that-
you can go to Scotland or Ireland and find something that's from 1300 or
you
1200
can.
or
Yeah, there's no doubt, and the parts of England as well, of course.
Yeah.
Wales is also. You have the identities that are there.
yeah.
We have the what they call the Giant's Causeway. So Phil McCool, the big giant that used to live there.
Yeah.
He was about 25 feet tall or something like that.
Supposedly.
Uh,
Is this a tall tale you're
no,
telling
they've
me?
got footprints of him and all. Up there.
Yeah. Right. So for those people that might be watching, if anybody ever traveled to Ireland, what would be the one place that's a must? That's saying you have to absolutely go to at least this one place if you ever go to Ireland. If it's possible. What would that be?
Step on the ground.
Just step on the ground.
Once you're in Ireland, everything is magical for you. If you go around the bottom of Ireland, you come out what they call the Ring of Kerry. The scenery is absolutely to die for.
Really?
And you come up into the north, and you get exactly the same feelings. Different counties, absolutely wonderful. That you once you start to look, you start to dream, and that dreams.
I'm cueing the music right now, so I'm trying to paint the picture for everybody as you're describing it.
It's absolutely beautiful. Countrysides are absolutely phenomenal. We have areas that you can walk for miles, and you won't even see another house,
Really?
yeah. And for a small country, that is really a wonderful sight to see.
Yeah. Well, we have places like that in the United States where you can walk for miles and not see anybody, but usually those are like in the desert.
Yeah.
Like places like New Mexico
Yeah.
or places or like some parts of Arizona where you could or Nevada, and the scenery isn't, well, I mean, I guess people like the desert scenery, but for me it's not.
No.
I just recently drove back to North Carolina, and so we drove through a lot of barren. I mean, you're looking around, you're going, nobody wants to live here, but everybody wants to live in this small little area over here, but nobody wants to live here.
Yeah.
So what's the most famous thing that most tourists would come to Ireland to see? What's a big tourist?
Well, the Ring of Kerry is probably one of the most
It is,
popular ones
okay.
with American tourists. There's no doubt about it.
And the pub where you live, of course.
No, they're going
I
to
think
come.
it's cool. Huh?
They'll have to come up a bit further up, But now that this podcast is going to go out to the millions of people across America.
Oh yeah, that's right. So you have some people watching, or well, there might be a time, but they're going to tune in and watch. So you have some friends and family in Ireland watching.
Yes, I have some relations and some friends in Ireland who are watching this, and I've got also some in Australia at the moment, and there's another couple of cousins in South Africa, in Durban, and if they're not watching, I'm not going to speak to them again.
So they're in Durban, South Africa.
Yeah,
That's very cool. So our podcast has gone global. All right, we have people watch. So Barry has watched our show from his home in Ireland. My friend Maz watched on occasion. I don't know if he's watching tonight, but we have people watching from South Africa. What we're going to need to do. So Dan, if you're still watching, Dan, what we need to do is we need to have a map at some point on our backdrop that has a map of the world, and we need to put little red pins on where some of our viewers are from, and we need to keep filling that. That's the plan. We need to do that.
yeah, you should do that.
Yeah. And so Dan's also wants to know, is there a Guinness brewery?
There is in
Right.
Dublin.
It's in Dublin. Oh, see
Yeah.
now there's that tourist spot. Well, I knew I'd get some night. That's where you need to go.
Yeah, of course you do. And you'll get a free pint if you take the tour.
Oh well, why would you not go then? Just for that?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Dan says if we get enough sponsors, we could do a podcast live from Ireland. Yeah. So we're in the process of trying to get sponsors right now. I might as well just throw a plug out for this right now.
Good
So
for
we
you,
are trying to
Dan.
get our sponsors. Not to because Dan and I love doing the show. We don't care if any profit for us, but we're actually looking at renting a small room office locally to have a full-time studio.
Sure.
And by doing so, we could then do the show every week. Dan's going to be retired soon, so we want to take the show weekly and
Mhm.
expand kind of what we do on the show and stuff. And but we need a full-time studio because for us to set up and take down the studio all the time like we do now is just very cumbersome. And so if we could have a full-time, it would save time for us to come in. So we are looking for sponsors. We have some local businesses, a couple already, 2 or 3 that have actually offered to sponsor at different levels. So you are watching and you are interested in sponsoring. You don't have to have a business, but we would take very inexpensive sponsorships on a monthly. We've got some pledges of $50 a month.
Oh.
We would entertain a cheaper sponsorship than that. We would definitely mention your name on the show as a sponsor. For a higher level sponsorship, we're going to be doing a logo of that said business mixed in with our thing. We'll also give that business a plug. Talk about what they do.
Great
in
idea.
town. And Joe, so they get something for their money. But yeah, so we're working on that right now. So hopefully, big things to come for us.
Yeah, that's great.
So, so let me ask you before we close out the show here. What do you like? Name something you really like about Galt. Someone from Ireland coming to Galt. I know why you're here because your grandkids are here and your son, and your daughter-in-law. But what's something that you like about Galt?
I think the people that we have met in Galt you'd nearly even think that they were Irish. They're so friendly.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
because Irish
yeah.
people are friendly. Is that it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll put their
Well,
arms.
that's
around
nice
you
of you to say that.
Yeah, they'll put their arms around you for no reason whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are these
absolutely.
people at? I don't know those people.
Well, Dan's one of them. He's let me sit in his seat tonight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Dan, for letting Barry sit in your seat. Somebody, hey, big shoes to fill. Dan has that. People tell me, oh, Dan has this soothing voice. He's the voice of reason on the show. It's like we're not trying to put people to sleep. We're trying, it's not what we're doing. It's not like we're recording audiobooks here or something, Dan, that's Dan's side gig is audiobooks.
All right.
Yeah. So Dan is working he's in prison right now.
Oh, see, that's good for
Yeah,
him.
he's behind the walls.
I see.
Babysitting. Yeah. So anyways, so we're gonna be wrapping up the show. We went a little bit over time, but we're typically we go like an hour and a half. But is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to say to anybody else while we're still on the air? But before we close out,
I
Barry?
know. I want to just thank everybody that we've ever met when we have come over to Galt, and thanks to you for the opportunity
For sure.
for me to throw the flag for Northern Ireland.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. I look forward to that bottle of whiskey when you come back. Or was it that whiskey or the Guinness? I forget.
No, it's the whiskey.
It's the whiskey, right? Yeah. Dan said something about the Guinness. So we want to thank everybody again sincerely for watching the show. And and feel free to go back and watch some of our previous episodes. We had a really good episode a couple weeks ago. It was actually last week about bullying, cyberbullying, and teen bullying. We had a young girl on here. That's a very good show. So check that out. And we will be back again on the 21st of this month. So we won't be back next week, but on the 21st, we'll be back. I believe Dan will also be absent that day. See, this guy gets vacations. I don't get vacations. Dan gets vacations. He's like a traveler. Me, no, I'm just stuck here on the show.
Well, I'll come back if you want.
Are you going to be here on the 21st?
It's going to cost you.
See, the charge. So we will have a co-host back on the 21st to take Dan's place, and hopefully we'll have a good show. So in the meantime, again, thank you everybody for watching, and for those of us here, for myself, Mr. Barry Carruth,
And thank you.
and my daughter Kaylin Farmer, handling all the things off screen. We want to say good night, everybody, and have a safe and pleasant evening. So goodbye.
And everyone on board can hear her call. With a hearty shout, she'll turn about and sail off in the rain. And you know the cripple likes it best of all. And sailing ships and sailing men will sail the open water, where the only thing that matters is the wind inside the main. So all you loving mothers, keep your your eyes upon your daughters, and the salesmen and their tatters, and the lass will ride again.